Right, Friday, today, last day of the week for my last retreat for a while. Got to go and try and get to Colombia the next week sometime to cross the border and then be back for January in time for Maestro being available in Genaro Herrera, where I've been before with Maestro Jairo, to do my dietas with him, hopefully for 3 weeks. And then he's back here. So Maestro Jairo will be taking over in January, which is his brother. I haven't been with Maestro Jairo for a long time, so maybe I'll see him in town in Naro Herrera. But anyway, Wednesday ceremony, really nice generally, much smoother. Had about, I don't know, 80% of a cup, I suppose, not quite full. The cleaning entities, spirits, the fractals were much more subdued this time, unlike Monday when they were the strongest they've ever been that I can remember for a long time. But I talk to them now, and again, they don't talk back, but like a voice in your head, but there's a communication, like a knowing. So I talk to them and ask them about and thank them for their cleaning of me for all the times, all the effort they've put in cleaning me for years. And they're the ones that could be really frightening for people when the ayahuasca first hits your system and your adrenaline surges, your heart races, anxiety can start as they're driving out what's still in you and what's wrong, and for them to clean. But that wasn't really so strong. It was very smooth on Wednesday at the start, and there was no shivering, unlike nearly all the last few weeks of ceremonies. I've been freezing cold and shivering, the whole body just shaking it out, and them sort of saying this is the real last of the deep stuff on Monday. But so this didn't happen on Wednesday, so that was nice. I mean, it's fine, you just know what it is and get through it, but usually freezing, shivering. So quite a few interesting things happening. Boben-san, as usual, my little nymph friend, was with me. She's beautiful. So happy. She was doing amazing tricks for me, saying, I just love entertaining you, Steve. She burst into fireworks and she was doing acrobatics. It was wonderful. And I'm saying, thank you for coming, and again, and will you come back later with some more Boben-san, more plant spirits, Boben-san spirits, and all sing with us in Cognac? And she does, so it's wonderful. Cognac's just a wonderful song to sing in ceremony. Such a happy song after all the cleaning's done, as a relief for everybody. But whether obviously they're not going to be seeing the plant spirits at their level without having done the dietas for the plants. But I hope they get the general sort of niceness that's conveyed with it all. Maestro singing and the plants singing along and me singing and Great Lady. So, and maybe Christian if he's there. So it's wonderful. Very interesting. Told Maestro yesterday. I had a 15-minute conversation back in my room with Mapacho. Gave me a lot of information about using rapé when if I've still got dark energy or need to vomit after the ceremony. Just about, again, letting it flow, not forcing it. Much more difficult in practice though, without sticking your fingers down your throat. But I couldn't get anything out. I didn't vomit anymore. I vomited once in ceremony. And that was interesting because I could feel because obviously the clients have been clean, so there's to a large degree there's not so much coming out of them. On Wednesday I didn't feel it too bad at all in my stomach, but there was one time where I did vomit for them. What else? So, and one time I've just felt a little bit in my stomach, and it was really interesting because Maestro must have felt it as well, but he didn't. Just maybe wanted to show me a trick. He didn't say anything yesterday when I spoke to him, but I explained it to him. But 3 times he kind of, like as if he was swallowing a burp, and he just went, and then really powerful, right at me, 3 times, and each time I kind of knew and what he was doing, and the feeling in my stomach, 3 stages of just diminishing the feeling in my stomach to nothing. And then I didn't have to vomit it. So that was interesting for sure. The second cup, wow, God, I only said, because I had, quite a big cup, and then the second one, I just, as usual, really tiny amounts, not necessary, but drank what Maestro had given me, just a bit in the bottom. Didn't even just sip it. I just, I was feeling like I was coming out of it by the time the second cup. I was feeling it like dropping out a little bit. So, and it's Wednesday, so I wanted to be quite strong later on my own. And oh God, it tasted foul. Same drink, but this is what happens when it's a second cup, real like as if it's going to be sickly. And so as soon as I drank it, I had a vision of I was just holding the same cup in this hand in my vision, and it was like in the vision, like just surrounded by energy, and Mama Ayahuasca saying to me, this is really got a lot of energy. But it's fine for you, good for you, but it's going to be powerful. But fine. And I drank it. When I'd already drunk it, and seeing this vision of the little wood cup, but like energy coming off it. And as soon as I drank it, the taste was so foul. I was just shuddering with it, but the shudders were like convulsive. And it just, my whole body was shaking, that build-up of the energies, and it just, and it got a bit out of control. And the strongest one was just, I was just struggling, and Maestro must have picked up on this, and I was just really struggling to control it. I mean, I was fine with it, but I knew it was just so powerful, the energies. And then next thing, Maestro actually blew at me and just went, flicked the leaves, the chicapas at me, and just to sort of take that down a shot, it's like, because it was just so powerful. The burst of energy was uncontrollable, really. It was very interesting. I forgot to tell him that, actually. That was really good. And really interesting thing was Sasha. She must have got to about 20 minutes before the end of the ceremony, and wow, it was just out of nowhere, this explosive vomit. She was lying on her back. She didn't even get any warning. She told me this morning that she did actually feel like vomiting, but she wasn't prepared for it. Wasn't over her bucket like thinking I'm going to puke. She was just on her back, and all of a sudden it was just this just in the corner, like she's more or less opposite me, and just you just came out of nowhere. And next thing, she just made it to the bucket, vomited, but really powerful vomit where she couldn't breathe, and she panicked because she was like it's like, I was thinking, it's easy to think it, because I've never been in that situation, but I've heard plenty of people who have vomited so violently, the vomit's just coming, and they're retching so much they don't even have a chance to catch their breath, and then it felt like it got stuck, and you could hear her struggling. She couldn't breathe, and of course you could feel the panic then. And she banged on the floor, and Lady and Lenny, because Lenny was sat in for Christian while he was away over Christmas with his family, and they went over there immediately, and just knowing that, and then I knew it'd be fine, because obviously Mama doesn't harm you. She's hardly going to let you choke to death in the ceremony. But for the person, because there was a couple of lessons there, and I told her the next day, there's a couple of lessons in that for you. Easy to say, but just something to be aware of for future. It's about that trust in Mama, and although obviously when you're in that state on ayahuasca, it must have been really frightening, not being able to breathe and not being able to catch your breath and thinking that you're going to choke to death. Horrible. But of course the lesson there is for the future, for having faith and remaining calm in a crisis, not panicking. And again, easy said than done. Much easier said than done. But the thought then, and I got a lesson on it from Bobin Sana, little Bobby, as I call her, saying about, that's the lesson for her, is there to always that remaining calm in a crisis, the ideal situation, remaining calm, not panicking. But of course, at that level, so that was, but it was such an explosive vomit, and it literally just, and she was describing it as the plug of dark energy where it's stuck, and she gave it like in a vision of like demons stuck inside someone's body with all these lines with hooks on them, just attached into the spiritual essence of the person, and Mama Ayahuasca just cutting each cord of where the hook's attached until it's the last one. And then when she cuts the last one, the ayahuasca is just, because there's just this force, this dark energy out that's been determined to stay inside the person. And boy, did it explode. It caught her by surprise, caught everybody by surprise. I said to Maestro, and he just laughed and said, yeah, it's, I was like, wow, that explosive vomit from Sasha just out of nowhere. Stuck energy in it. He was just smiling and laughing, yeah. Because it was really powerful. So it was really good for her, because she's felt so much lighter since. Cause something, where it's that, the impression of being subdued in life, which I can relate to a lot, where, from the bullying of my stepfather, and just where your personality is suppressed, and you just, you've been confined as a bullied child. It's that kind of feeling went along with it. So that was great to really right to the end of the ceremony. So that was a nice end for her. She's been a lot lighter since, a lot more chatty. So they're a nice group, but there isn't the same kind of gel that you get in some groups. Everyone gets on really well. It's all very polite, but there isn't the kind of same. They haven't got the same sort of interest in the spiritual side of it. So it's, I just observe, really, that's all, because some groups are full of questions for me and really want to know more about the plant spirits and stuff, but this group not so much. They're just so what else was interesting? So something else was really interesting, can't remember now, but it's just lovely having Boben Sana now every ceremony, just to teach me and be company and just to sing with and have fun with. She was beautiful. This night she was sitting talking to me, and then she just burst into flower, like Boben Sana flowers all over her body, and her eyelashes and stuff like that. Boben Sana, just doing all these beautiful, amusing plant spirit things in visions. It's just wonderful space to be. So the last few weeks since the transition, it's been wonderful. Yeah, there's a couple of difficult times, but mainly that's just learning the role, as a little junior, and being happy to, take out dark energy. I'm not doing it consciously. It just happens to me, and my job is to kind of relieve Maestro a little bit of some energies, and I have to do the hard purging for it physically, not being able to expel it myself. Although Wednesday was so much smoother, it was not uncomfortable ceremony at all. It was really pleasant physically overall, didn't have any stomach ache or anything, but just an awareness that, dark energy, and felt that back in the room, but it wasn't powerful at all, but just wanted to get it out so that I could relax, because I was awake till about 3 o'clock again. Did have some diarrhea when I got, just normal, but with a little diarrhea, but not, it was mainly the big Christmas dinner sort of stew that we had, that was, but that was pretty normal. Once that was out, system could just relax, and then by about 3 o'clock I could sort of switch all the lights off and just get to trying to sleep. But very interesting chat with Mapacho. He was like on a throne with sort of lights coming off him, sitting on his own little throne in his own little area, and kind of then just sort of stood in front of him, quite a way back, in front of his little dais that he was in and on, but he was really friendly and very polite, and just spoke to me about basically, the overuse of Mapacho in my pipe, and really just using it when it's needed, not too much, except on ceremony nights. You know, it's like Mama said, just what ceremony nights fine. Just you just use it in that space because you're spiritually, obviously, extremely active and aware. And the same with rapé. Just about really feeling the energies when you're in that state, and feel the energies of the mapacho and the rapé being tobacco, and of course that's him, and using it for trying to, if you need, when you want to go to just get to the toilet, because obviously rapé is really good. That can happen in the morning. You take rapé in the morning, you can go to the toilet. It's a bit like, I suppose, people who have a cigarette in the morning, you might want to go for a crack. The same thing happens with, because it's tobacco. But on ceremony nights, back in the room, you know, you really feel it. Took some couple of strong blasts and just feel the burn, but with the energy side of it, of this plant spirit itself. So nice chat with him. What else happened? Yeah, strange thing, Maestro didn't seem to know anything about it. I said, I think it was before he brought Papa Julio down, I heard another male spirit very loud, and I thought it was maybe another one of his relatives. So I knew he hadn't called Papa Julio yet, but there were these, he was talking, and I thought this other entity was talking to him at one point, but he didn't seem to know anything about it. When I said, I thought it was one of your relatives, he went, maybe. But I said, there was a man and a woman, and I was confused because I thought, well, maybe it's the spirit of Lady, because they seem to be talking quite like an argument. Only just one exchange. The guy, whoever this spirit was, talking really quite harshly in Spanish. Couldn't understand the Spanish. Quite harshly. And then this woman retorting just as harshly. Like they'd have an argument, but only one exchange. One, sentence each, but really loud and quite harsh. That was strange. I said, Maestro didn't seem to know anything about it, so I'm not sure about that now. Maybe it was two other spirits in the Maloka that were man and woman, and they had their own beef and they're on a different level or something. I don't know what that was about, but it was really loud. But Maestro didn't clarify anything on that, as if he'd like, I don't know. And then he called Papa Julio as usual. Papa Julio laughs through Maestro just to announce his presence there. A few times, and he did sort of a general group Icaro, walking around, which he did last week for the Arcana for the last group. He's not been coming to the end of the bed recently and giving everyone separate Icaros. He's just been kind of doing a group one, which is different, so it's more efficient for him. But we'll see what happens tonight, because it's Arcana night again, because everyone's leaving tomorrow, including me. I think Lewis and Amalia are doing second week next week. But anyway, then there'll be a new group on Monday. Oh yeah, and that was strange at the beginning. I haven't seen Josh. Josh was in ceremony on Wednesday when I first got there, and he was quiet. And I said, how are you? I said, have you ever done a ceremony on Christmas Day, Josh? And he said, no. And then about 5 minutes later, he didn't say anything except to Lady, just not a lot, just put his hand on the shoulder. But he got up and he picked up his blanket and his flask and walked out. And because I'd seen his flask, I thought he wouldn't be taking his blanket to the toilet or anything. So I just kind of knew, and he didn't come back. So and I was wondering about it, just thought maybe that conversation just saying about, have you ever done a ceremony on Christmas Day? And maybe it made him think about Christmas Day, and actually just, no, I'm going to spend it with Karen and the baby. And maybe he knew something else, because at one point, I think it was it Amalia or Noran was out there needing to go to the toilet, and they stayed out there and they were talking for a bit. Maybe he needed just to get out and have some fresh air or whatever. I thought I heard him talking to them. Maybe they were having a bit of difficulty at the time, and I thought maybe it was Josh's voice. He'd come down again just to help. So, but I haven't had a chance to speak to him since, because I'm really curious as to what went through his head. Because it was just odd, again, sometimes how these things happen. I just happened to mention about Christmas Day ceremony, and maybe it just triggered something, and he decided, I'm not going to do it, and just left. And then Amalia was also because Christian was away. I thought I felt nervousness, like apprehension before the ceremony. Of course, that's unusual for me. It doesn't happen. So used to it. Those days are long gone. It's normal for beginners to have apprehension at least before a ceremony. And Amalia was she was stood on her feet, looking out the window quite a bit before, as if she was just unsure about something. And then before the ceremony started, lady said that Maestro Kate, the Campbell Maestro, he's staying overnight for the next day, that he'd be coming in as a facilitator to cover for a Christian. And although Amalia's met him last time she was here months ago, when he came into the room, she said to Gino, she said, do you mind, is it okay to have Mr. Lenny? She said, I feel a bit uncomfortable having someone new. And I understand that, because when you're new, you can get all these little because she's quite heavily traumatized as it was since being in the womb. Her mother had taken a lot of problems in the family and whatnot, and this will filter through to a baby in a womb, both chemically and hearing external sounds, and the stress of the mother goes into the baby. If you'd watch Gabor Mate videos. So I fully understand that, and I understand. I thought it was a bit, Maestro Kate is just another one of the family in a way, but no, she felt uncomfortable with it and actually asked if she could have Lenny instead. And so Gina just said, yeah, absolutely no problem. So they went and got Lenny, and so Maestro Kate left. So that was a bit unusual. But it's really nice that they'll just say, yeah, absolutely, whatever you need, we'll cater for to make you feel comfortable. So, but I get that, I understand that. I remember my early days when, you're very conscious of the other clients that you kind of just by look or whatever, or just people that you might feel you don't want next to you, or you do, or you prefer, and things like that. It makes a big difference to your psychology in those early days. You've got enough apprehension and worries going on about feeling comfortable in ceremony when at the beginning, and with a little experience, because you're very sensitive to, there's the fear factor again, and you really do want to feel comfortable yourself. It's really important, and you like everything to be right. So I get it. So that was interesting. Never seen that happen before. Someone asked for a change of staff just because, they just don't feel comfortable with a particular person. I remember the early days with Josh, after being in Josh's ceremonies. Josh's energies for me were always uncomfortable. But when he did the other night, he did Monday with us, and we're totally different now. It's a year and a half. I've changed. Obviously, I've come so far. All the things that used to bother me just don't anymore. It's a great space for me to be in. But yeah, Josh, he vomited, but he was fine. I said to him at the end of the ceremony on Monday, I said, how did it feel to be back? But he was just very quiet and placid. What else? So anyway, that was ceremony 88. So I got ceremony 87. So I got ceremony 88 tonight. No, 89. 89 tonight. So this was Wednesday, was 88. So I'm not going to get into the 90s until I go back with Maestro in January. That will be my first one if he opens me just on the small ceremonies on the dietas to connect to whatever plants I've been mentioning about, because he's been talking a lot about the tree spirits on the jungle walks and stuff. And of course, I didn't realise else I'd have gone earlier. And again, this, nobody tells you. Christian did know, but he didn't tell me. that Maestro Antonor, when he goes on the jungle walks and sings these Icaros, of course I didn't take my phone, so I didn't get them for myself, so I had to ask. Luckily Sasha had recorded them all, so I got the 3 Icaros for the basic ones for asking for the protection from ayahuasca, from Caparona and Cachapona trees. So they're up as shorts on YouTube. Maestro singing them, so because obviously I'll have to learn those. So it's great to have those going on the jungle walk. So all in all, again, just still a wonderful time for me. The last 10 weeks has been amazing, but the first 5 were with the hex, with the injuries, my ankle, my stomach, just all the bad energy hitting me before I gave my life basically to cross, which was intrinsic to crossing the threshold, I believe, and then Papa Julio being able to fix all my misaligned dietas. Everything is just, the level of learning has accelerated, the experiences have accelerated in power and learning, but all in a really beautiful way. It's just, after all the hard work and the suffering of 3.5 years, it's just a lovely space to be. So it's, every ceremony now it's nice to be able to look forward to them and just have a really nice time. Yeah, there's still, because it's just all interesting, because most of the stuff that happens now isn't negative at all from a personal point of view, because it's just the negativity that the clients bring, which obviously from a shamanic perspective is just what shamans are there to do, is to remove it. And especially within the last week, that was fascinating, seeing that level of dark energy brought, and just seeing how Maestro deals with it, and the effect that it can have when Aya needs to remove it, and she's just going to do it, when it's really dark energy. But the dark energy putting up a fight, and what they can do to people's bodies and how they make them react, as Inna said, where she knew what was happening but she had no control, the screaming she couldn't stop, and the suppressed anger and everything that goes with someone who's been traumatized as a child to that degree, and the demons that become infested in the person. It's horrible what the dark side does to people, but that's what it is, kids. So it's just been a wonderful last few weeks since the transition. So really happy. I've just got to get my finger out and start buckling down to more meditation and Spanish and harder work. It's always an excuse to put it off. I still got an apathy demon going on for sure. But it's, like Mama said, that's your work. You've got to overcome that yourself. I'm not going to help you with it. It's like, no. So I haven't gone with them on the boat trip today to the zoo. They're all going to go and see the anaconda today, and the monkey and the sloth, which would be nice for them, because this group are a little, even Big Lewis from the UK, there's typical, I remember what I was like, typical foreigners that come to the Amazon, and they're, there's always that little worry inside about insects and spiders and having, and of course fear attracts fear. And Mama does test that. She did with me. You'll get insects, and I've had scorpions in my bathroom. I've had tarantulas on the outside of my door coming back from ceremony at Flower of Life, when you really don't want it. Just to push that fear so that it can be removed from you. And then you find that like people who come into the Maloka, they'll be worried about cockroaches, and if they're worried about them, it'll be near their bed. I don't have them anywhere near me. Because I always used to go in first and check around the bed, but cockroaches are no harm, and I suppose they can give you a bite. But again, spiders, another one. We've had spiders in the Maloka before the ceremony, and I found them a couple of times. Or we've had big tree frogs, and people oh my god, I don't want to rise. Also, I don't want that landing on me or jumping on me in ceremony. You know, the jump factor. And sometimes it happens just to sort of spike out a bit of fear in you. You know, you'll get something like drop from the ceiling next to your ear or whatever. You know, or the perception that there's insects crawling on you, which is unpleasant. I got, you know, I think that's one of my last videos. I said I got stung, and of course it's not a real insect. It was just something tickling one ear, and then the other one. It stung me right on my ear. Like, fucking, it really hurt. It was like a proper sting. But I knew there was nothing there. It's like a spiritual thing. Like I thought Maestro might have been doing a little test just to see where your fear levels are. You know. It still makes you jump because for you it's a physical effect, but it's not an insect or some, you know, because I was actually seeing it in visions, like an insect or something, like a scorpion little stinger on it. And just like, fuck, ow, fucking hell, what was that? And an insect's crawling on my head, and it's just itchy because my itchy skin, you know, representations of my remaining eczema-y itchy type things probably being exercised. Who knows? So it's all fascinating, but yeah, these are all aspects of the fears that people bring about coming to the Amazon, and I'm wondering, it'd be interesting to see how Noran, because Lenny I got the video up as well, and that's I said, we were in the Cambo ceremony yesterday. Lenny was there, and he showed me on his phone because he found that beautiful rainbow boa constrictor. It's I don't really know why it's called rainbow, because to me it's beautiful markings, brown and black, beautiful patterns all over it, and about 1.5 meters long, I suppose. Again, harmless because it's a constrictor. It's not poisonous for humans, and it wouldn't be interested in humans who are too big, unless you frightened it. Of course, it would bite you. But he found it on the grounds here Sunday, I think it was. He told me, or the other morning, and Noran didn't. You know, I started showing the video to everybody, thinking they'd be interested, but Noran didn't want to see it at all. So she's probably in for a big surprise this morning when they go to the zoo and see the 4 meter long boa constrictor. So it'll be interesting to see whether she's got the nerve to actually stroke it, or whether she, you know, it's like, I don't want to go near it. So trying to think, something happened with her the other night. But just a toilet, I think. But yeah, that was confusing for me. When she walked past, she was wearing this beautiful dress. I hadn't seen her. She was there first and had a cover over her. But when she walked out, I was still tripping my balls off, and like, well, not that strong, but I was like this beautiful kind of sort of ballerina, not a tutu, but a ballerina type skirt, white. She was all in white, and like, I thought, who the hell's that? I thought I was actually seeing a spiritual form, but it wasn't. When I actually saw her come back in, and then she was actually wearing these lovely all white stuff for the ceremony, so that was nice. Just made the effort. Amalia, the older lady, Peruvian lady, she did Cambo yesterday, had 4 dots, she did well. But she fainted twice. She got to the door. She wanted to go to the toilet. I carried her to the door, but then she had to sit back down, and she fainted. She was out for quite a while, 5 minutes. And then they got her back on her feet, and then she got to the steps by the toilet block. And, you know, I was sat next to Lenny and looking out the window, and like, oh, no, she hadn't got to the toilet. She collapsed again. She fainted again on Cambo. But then eventually got to the toilet, and then she brought her back. She had 2 on her legs and 2 on the bottom of her back. But she was the only one who did Cambo. The others, Noran and Lewis, did try Rapé, and handled it quite well. I was glad Lewis did it, because he wasn't going to do it at first, and then he did one and said he didn't want to do the other side. But once he'd recovered from it, I said, you know, if you're up to it, I said you really should try and, you know, do both sides, balance it out, clear the both, especially, you know, because Gino brought a little bit of a flu bug, but it hasn't really developed. And I know that's probably why I was really tired after, because Monday's ceremony was pretty hard. And I was tired. I slept twice on Tuesday, and that's unusual. So I knew it was affecting me, but I didn't feel any effects, but I was tired. But I managed to sleep it off, the ire and my protections, I suppose. I'll have to ask Maestro about that, whether your general protections that I've got, the level of protection that I've got now, whether they do help just keep you healthy, keep infections away and stuff. So I'll ask him about that to be sure. But anyway, that's pretty much it for ayahuasca 87 and no 88 Wednesday. So it's 89 tonight.